The SocialNUI Centre aims to explore the intersections of what it means to be human and new forms of interactive technology. Social play is very important because it's a core part of what makes us human. We need to think about technology as a way of not just augmenting play, but ensuring it doesn't undermine play.
The study of playing games is important for interaction design because the forms of interaction that take place in games is often difficult, and therefore it is a challenge for interaction design to develop modes of interaction that are both challenging and fun, and that can then carry through to other more sort of serious applications. What's great about this group is the diverse engagement with different modalities of interaction with computers. So we've got people looking at speech, we've got people looking at gesture, we've got people doing eye tracking, we've got people trying to understand the physicality of play through physical engagement, such as board games, as well as people trying to understand both the experience of spectatorship and the experience of children and the way games and digital devices are an important part of childhood development.
My research project is looking at children's digital play and their use of digital games. What does play look like for children who are growing up surrounded by digital devices with internet connectivity and a whole range of different user interfaces? The next step is to actually look at what children do in their online play worlds. From our observational data, we are also interested in getting more insight into those connections between online play worlds and sort of the broader play worlds that children inhabit and create, and ways that technologies and interfaces could perhaps leverage some of that connectivity between the different play spaces that children inhabit. So fostering connections between online play and offline play.
I'm looking at the experience of playing board games, and what I want to understand is actually what happens when people play. So how do they interact with one another, and importantly, how do they interact with the game and with the pieces? By studying the way that people are choosing to interact with things, that tells us a lot about the way that they want to interact with digital technologies as well. One of the things that people really value about board games is the materiality, the fact that they're made of something. They are often ordering their cards, they're sequencing their cards, they're sorting out some of the pieces that they want to use for a specific purpose, and they're using that to remind them of what they want to do, and they're also using that when other players do it to get a sense of what that other player might be thinking about.
When we play games, we have the tendency to look at each other's behavior, such as where the eyes are looking, so that we can get some clues to what someone might be planning to do. But when we play computer games, we no longer have access to these nonverbal cues. With eye trackers, we have the opportunity to bring some of these cues back into computer games. But at the same time, we are able to create novel gameplay experiences through its detection and display. As we get better at understanding human cues, we can start designing artificial agents that understand them as well.
Voice as a way of interacting is inherently social. It's probably the most social form of behaviour that we have. What I'm looking at is that kind of voice interaction idea. The computer not so much as a tool, but as a partner in an interaction. You can't just take voice as just another way of controlling a game or controlling a system. You really have to think of it as a mode of interaction that's closely bound up with someone's sense of who they are or who they are in this game. So one of the things that I'm looking at is the patterns of how video games have used voice interaction and how they've presented that to a player. So there's a lot that we can learn in games about how it is that talking to characters works and what kind of experience that has.
Rather than looking at play directly, I'm looking at the spectatorship of play. Specifically, I'm looking at Australian esports, and I'm really interested in understanding how Australian culture influences esports as it becomes adopted into our country. It's particularly in Australia because of our big sporting culture. It gives people who traditionally haven't been interested in conventional sports an outlet to be patriotic about their country. While video games has generally been seen as a solidary activity, esports spectatorship can very much be a social activity. A lot of esports clubs have formed in universities and esports bars have formed, bringing people together to watch esports in a joint environment.
One of the major outcomes from this research will be a better understanding of how we can interact with a variety of different devices.
We have interactive technology now that builds upon voice, gesture, touch, and they provide an opportunity to see how they can contribute to what it means for us to be human.